Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along for the ride, as always, is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How are we doing today, guys?
Fantastic. But I don't think anyone's feeling as good as you are, Mark.
Well, I mean, I'm not happy with the loss. But I do believe someone was saying at least a 20-point blowout. And as my comment that I mentioned in the email, I'm not happy that the loss is there. But the thing is, at least he only scored one touchdown, 4 field goals. But everyone was thinking probably 2 or 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. Some big, outlandish, ridiculous, embarrassing number. So I'm not happy with it. But I managed to keep the bleeding to a small level. Let's put it like that.
I told you that spread was crack smoking nuts.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I mean, nobody makes a 13-point loss look as good as you do, Mark.
No one makes snatching defeat from the jaws of victory look so pristine like you did. That was some good work you did there, man. Some real good work.
It's hard to time a penalty like I did. But I haven't heard a post-game press conference after a loss like yours since maybe Vanderbilt playing Alabama, or something. I don't know.
Well, hey,
anyway,
look,
I digress.
I'll tell you what, I guarantee you, I bet if you play Chicago, it'll be a bigger spread.
Maybe.
Either one of you plays. I'm not sure either one of you wins the game by playing offense as badly as my team did.
Okay.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. Wait, are we doing self-depreciation?
Hey. Oh, no, man. I'm in good spirit. I got beat by a 3-1 team who's, leading the league in scoring defense.
No,
I told you.
You lost to a team that
is the 85 Bears.
No,
you go back and listen to the show last week. I said this Indy team, that defense, that looks like Mike Singletary and Richard Dent out there running around trying to play my guys.
You say that every week when you do your whole Lou Holtz routine.
No.
Yeah, obviously I'm not lying. Y'all saw that.
No, I hate to bring this up and shake Atlanta up a little bit, but you look like the Falcons playing the Pats. You had this game won. And what was it, Dean? In the final 2 minutes, he just figured, I'm going to order some pizza and I'm just going to walk away. Come on, guys. You can take your gear off. Whoa, wait a minute. We're going to overtime? Uh-oh.
Yeah. You all should not disrespect Coach Hoover like that. His team obviously got the extra fourth quarter boosters, points or something. I don't know, but hats off to Coach Hoover. Yeah, I have got us way off track, but I could not let the show start without giving you a double high five for that 13-point loss. I wanted to join the celebration.
We're going to see this weekend because he gets to play the best 5-0 team in the league.
Yeah. With the chance to win 75-6, we'll know how good I am.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. All right. Okay, we've had a little bit of fun here, so let's go ahead and jump into our games. The first game that we have on the list is LA playing up against New Orleans, and that game, let me see here, LA, New Orleans, and that was a very tight game with New Orleans taking this one 15-14. We are going to start with Mitch on this one. Uh-oh. Did I lose you, Mitch?
No, I decided to go on mute and forget to turn it off mute. I apologize. No, I was saying that it's been several weeks now where I have, praised New Orleans and Coach Perez for what they're doing. They're kind of that sneaky good team. They went 10-6 last year. This year, I think it's a 3-2 start going on. Out there could have won maybe at least one of those games that they lost. This time they get the defending champs at home, and I don't think they would call it a pretty win, but you know what? They don't really care because they got the win. The only thing I would say for Los Angeles is that there's no balance at all on that offensive side. Only 5 rushing plays and 3 were by the quarterback. So I mean the quarterback basically out of 44 plays of offense, 42 of them were all on the back of the quarterback. So that's I don't know, that's tough. But anyway, Dean, what do you think?
Are we seeing that maybe Deshaun Kaiser is not quite doing it anymore? We're going to talk about quarterback play, but maybe this is a case in point. We can also talk about the continuing of the Super Bowl hangover, and I think for those of you that were reading, I don't know if it's the email or the forum, the coach of the Chargers did post some interesting comments about how things are going at that end this time of the year. But yeah, it's been a tough season after the Super Bowl for both of our Super Bowl teams that are currently 2-3.
Yeah, rough early start from what I've seen from you two. Next game that we're going into is Las Vegas taking on New England. And it looks like New England is trying to bounce back. They ended up winning this game 21-17. Dean.
Well, the Las Vegas defense did slow down the Patriots offense and did contain it. But the problem is, and I think this is what we've been seeing with Las Vegas the last few weeks, is their offense didn't perform very well in the second half. And the Raiders had a chance of winning this game and just didn't quite get the job done on offense in the second half. And I'm sure that's something the coaching staff will be working on, try to get a bit more consistency in their offensive production, because these are close games that they're losing that could very well be won.
All right.
Yeah.
Mitch.
Yeah, well, you look at this and New England, leaned on Diamond Donnie Lewis and that defense to really keep Las Vegas at bay. 3.2 yards a carry for Las Vegas. Being that they like to throw shorter passes, they were putting themselves in a lot of 3rd and long situations out there. They controlled the ball, but they did not move the ball. If that makes any sense. But we'll see. Congratulations to New England. We'll see if they can keep it rolling.
All right. Next game, we have Washington going in to play Jacksonville, and Washington taking that game 21-13. Mitch.
Well, this was interesting, especially if you look at that stat line. Murray almost had a perfect game. 13 to 15 from a passing standpoint. Not a lot of attempts, but quite honestly, there just weren't a lot of plays running this game at all. I mean, barely over 100 plays total in this game. Very much a grind it in between the 20s type of ball game. But, sometimes that's how Washington likes it. They like to kind of grind it out there. So, Jerry keeps it rolling, and poor old Captain Kirk, a couple of picks in this game did not help the situation. What do you think, Dean?
Yeah, I think those interceptions are costly, and that cost them any chance of winning this game. I was kind of surprised that Washington did not cover the spread. I expected that they would. And Jacksonville put up a much tougher effort here than they did, of course, against the Jets. And, we still may be hearing that the Jets are scoring on them again, but at least they played against the Redskins.
You are not letting that go, are you? Okay. Next game that we have the Battle of New York, which has the New York Giants being the visitor to the New York Jets. And the Jets did a number on them, 42-10. We are going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. The score was not close. The Jets were very effective on offense and played strong, solid defense, and the Giants didn't do well against the Jets defense, and their defense didn't prevent the Jets from scoring very much. But there's one interesting stat here. The completion percentages of each of the two quarterbacks are almost equal. And the passing yards are similar, and they both had a very similar amount of rushing stats. So you wonder, what is the difference? Well, the Jets had better third down efficiency for one, and the Giants lost a couple of fumbles, which cost them some chances of scoring as well.
Well, you look at that score, you go 42-10. Boy, New York kind of had the Jets had their way at the Giants. Not really. And what I mean is this, the Giants actually were going in for a touchdown, and basically threw a interception that was run back 98 yards. Which set up a Jets touchdown. So there's 7 points that, swing. And then there was another big return. I think Nickerson, had that big 78-yard kickoff return, which, set up another. So there's a couple of plays here where, instead of being 42-10, it might have been like a 28-24 game. So, the score looks bad, but like you said, the yards are not much different. But end of the day, it doesn't matter. Jets win. So, anyway.
Yep, that's it. Jets. Yep.
That interception.
Next game that we have is, excuse me, Detroit going into play Atlanta. And Atlanta turned it around and taking that game 31-22. We're going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, this is always a fun game when James and Dean get together and match up. This year's, I guess we'll get twice. We'll get another one later this year. But the first one went to Dean in Atlanta at home. Had a fairly efficient day out there as far as, touchdowns and, to interception ratio, but neither team did anything on the ground. So luckily, Lamar Jackson was able to, hit a couple of big plays and get some touchdowns out of there. But what was once a pretty solid running attack for Atlanta has really hit the skids this year. So, Dean, what's going on in that running game?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not doing very well. The passing game hasn't been particularly affected this season either, and we'll talk about that in the second segment. I wasn't exactly impressed with the passing game this particular game. I mean, there were some key completions, but there seemed to be a number of incomplete passes that looked like they should have been caught or should have been made or should have been thrown better. But I think the bright spot in this game and the 22 points doesn't really show it. I think the defense was fairly solid, and the Detroit score had been at 8 points, and then fairly late in the game, might have been late third quarter, early fourth quarter, one of my players fumbled the punt return, and that gave Detroit a short field to score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to run their score from 14-18. But overall, my defense looked fairly solid in this game, better than you said. You gave up 22 points, but again, I just explained that the defense had played fairly well up to that point to have only given up 2 touchdowns to Detroit.
Yep.
But offense, as you can see, lack of balance. The running game didn't do very well. The passing game really wasn't as good as the stats might indicate. Too many incomplete passes. It needs work.
Yeah,
it needs work.
Okay. Next game, we have San Francisco taking on Anaheim, and San Francisco walked away with this one 31-17. We're going to start with you on this one, Dean.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's really going on with Anaheim this season. I'm not sure what's going on with their quarterback, Joshua Dobbs. Even in this game, he had 71% completions for 199 yards, but his season stats as quarterback are not looking very good. And the 49ers played some pretty solid, fairly balanced offense, and they dominated the game. As I watched the game, many more times the 49ers were moving the ball up the field and scoring than the Rams were. And if you look at punts, the 49ers only punted once in the entire game. It's hard to lose a game when you only punt once all day.
Yeah, that is true. Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to say on this one. I mean, San Francisco dominated from start to finish. Over 100 more yards gained. Off it. I mean, the multiple running backs with 20 plus yards. I mean, just absolute dominance by the 49ers this week.
Okay. Next game that we have on the list, which is what we started out talking trash on early on, which is Seattle going into Chicago, and Chicago taking this game 19-6. We're going to start it off with the troublemaker that kicked the whole show off, Mitch.
All right. Well, first, let me just say what an awesome performance by Seattle to keep it, within 13 points, even though, they possessed the ball 10 minutes fewer than Chicago. They were able to generate 4.9 yards a carry. Unfortunately, they only ran the ball 17 times. So, that might have made an impact there. But I will say overall, being the fact that Chicago did have the ball for 10 extra minutes, the fact that Seattle was able to keep Chicago under 20 points is actually pretty amazing, to be honest with you. But we'll see. I think Chicago will keep things rolling, and we'll see if Seattle can build on this moral victory and get an actual win here this week.
Ouch. Dean.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks were looking pretty good on defense this game and played defense pretty tough. I mean, they held Justin Fields to 50% passing, and they held one of the most prolific scoring offenses in the league to just 19 points. I think the weakness here for Seattle was their offense. 4.9 yards per carry is pretty good, but you need to do it more than 17 times. The Seattle passing offense was a little bit over 50% completions. And I think with some stronger offense, this would have been a closer game. And I think the Seattle coaching staff will work on their offense also, as many of us need to do that, and should be stronger in some of these games in the coming weeks.
Actually, as I really do my deep analysis here, I think where you really got to put some focus, Mark, is on your field goal team, your special teams. If you could have blocked those 4 field goals of Chicago, you would have only lost 7-6, and then you really would have been celebrating. So maybe work on that field goal block team and see what happens.
Yeah, we got to do that. And also, as you guys mentioned too, I think I'm running into the same problem that Dean's having with the offense sputtering. Last week we was well over 100 yards. This week you're under it, and just trying to get more of that running game going. I think that would have kind of kept their offense on the bench a little bit longer, and that might have made some changes. Again, the defense, they gave the touchdown, but then the rest of it was just kind of bending but not breaking, trying to keep it close for the offense, but the offense couldn't generate anything. So that's.
Hey, but you were only sacked twice. I think that's a huge improvement from the first time you played Chicago. So
yes, and
let's do a high five on that.
Yeah, and they had one, and we sacked them one time, so kind of a net of one. So you want to look at it that way.
I think the thing that hurt your offense the most was the fact you only had 49 plays of offense. That's tough to get anything moving. But anyway, enough on that. Now it's time to move on to the next. Who do you play this week again, Mark?
I play the Giants this week.
Oh, well.
But we will discuss.
Maybe the following week will be a good one.
We will discuss that later. You know what? Hey, I wish it would have been Kansas City because I know I'd win.
Oh, jeez. Now you're dreaming. Now you're dreaming. Let me get my Aerosmith and turn it on in the background over here.
For Dream On?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think I knew that one. You didn't think I knew that. All right, we are coming to the last 2 games over here. And as we are coming down to the last 2 games, we have Pittsburgh getting in their first win of the season. Congratulations. They went in and they played Minnesota and ended up taking this game 20-14. Dean.
This game I thought Pittsburgh would play this tough, but I just didn't quite have the cojones to pick Pittsburgh to win this game over Minnesota. And I'm not sure what's going on in Minnesota. I expected them to win this game, and I've been saying Pittsburgh is the best 0-4 team, and they had some close losses, and they finally broken through and gotten their first win. They just played a bit better. One key stat that I can see here is they went 3 of 3 in 4th down conversions. It's a gamble to go for 4th down, but if you can do it and get it every time, that definitely keeps some drives alive, and that was definitely key in a game when you only win by 6 points. And I noticed the change at quarterback as well. They go with the young guy, Trevor Lawrence, starting, who was the player of the game and put up some very respectable stats. 72% completions for 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So solid effort by Pittsburgh. We're going to see the Steelers win more games this season.
I agree with that one. Mitch.
Yeah, Pittsburgh now, that's 2 weeks in a row that I know they've played Lawrence at quarterback. So I guess they've decided to bench the highest rated quarterback in the league in Dak Prescott to go with Lawrence. So, maybe Dean, maybe this is a trading partner that you can work something out, and maybe you can get Prescott for Lance or something like that. But, the big thing that stood out to me here, besides Pittsburgh getting their first win, congratulations, the fact that they just didn't let Minnesota have the ball. 39 offensive plays for Minnesota. Some teams have that in a quarter or a half. But Minnesota had only 39 plays the entire game. And it's not like they weren't efficient when they had the ball. My goodness, they averaged 6.5 yards a carry, averaged 7.6 yards per pass. So when they had the ball, they removed it. Hence why they were able to score 14 points in, 39 plays. But Pittsburgh played absolute keep away in this game, and that to me that's probably the biggest thing that stands out. So, congrats to Pittsburgh.
All right. Last game on the list, or our game of the week, was an overtime game, and my clap back to Kansas City early on, and that is the Kansas City going in to play in Indianapolis. We thought that one was pretty much in the bag, but they ended up coming back, taking the game into overtime, and Indy winning this game 24-21. We're going to start this off with Dean and then move over to the coach. Dean.
Yeah, I was surprised with how tough Indianapolis played in this game and was able to come back near the end. And it went into overtime, and it went a long time into overtime before it was ultimately decided. And before that infamous penalty on the missed field goal, I thought this game was going to end tied at 21. And, that field goal was the difference, and the game was over 24-21. Definitely an upset. I mean, even though Indianapolis has been looking pretty good this season and was 3-1 going into this game, I think, I don't remember what the spread was, but I know that Rich had the Chiefs favored in this game, and I think most people picked the Chiefs to win, and it did not happen.
All right. Coach Grawl, what happened?
Man, well, first of all, let me just say, I wish you all would actually believe me when I tell you these teams are good. And when I said that Indy, their defense, mirrored the 85 Bears, I mean, y'all laughed at me, but I mean, come on. I mean, look, Mayfield looked like he was running from Richard Dent, out there most of this game. But, hey, it is what it is, right? I mean, Indianapolis, Coach Hoover and I, we traded some emails kind of joking after the game about how, Jordan Love, the first three quarters, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback in FB Pro miss guys like wide open. You'll see things where you'll see two or three defenders next to a guy that says complete. I mean, they were throwing balls where it'd be 5 yards out in front of the receiver, out of bounds, and it's like, what in the world? But then the fourth quarter, it's like all of a sudden, man, this guy was threading the needle between multiple defenders. The running back, old JJ, there was Taylor was just breaking tackles left and right on those screen plays, and I'm just sitting there. I told Mark and Dean, before the show, it was 21-6. I was ready to order some DoorDash and have a little celebration. And by the time I could get the app pulled up, I'm like tied 21-21. I'm like, what the heck? But anyway, it was a fun game. Yeah, I would have liked to have won that game. I don't like losing. But, hey, congratulations to Coach Hoover and Indy, and 4-1, and giving the Jets a little bit of hot air on the neck this year. So I'm glad to see somebody in the AFC East giving Thomas there a little bit of a push. So hopefully we'll have a good rest of the season.
Okay, I have to comment. I can't let that pass.
Yeah.
You tell us every week when you pull this Lou Holtz routine, you tell us how strong the other team is, and the best team in the league, and I'm just honored to be in the field with them, and you give us this routine every week, and so we do tend to discount that a bit, and when we know that if you tell us each week that every team you're playing is strong, then we keep hearing that. So.
Well, hey, if Mark says that every team is going to make the playoffs
I didn't say every team. I did not say every team was going to make the playoffs.
Exaggeration.
Every team's going to have a great second half of the season. That's what you were saying last week.
He said they were stepping it up. They were making the effort.
They were making the effort and stepping up their game. The competition is getting better.
Well, I will go ahead and let y'all know New Orleans is a tough team, and I'm just honored to be playing them this upcoming week. We'll see if I can rebound.
Well, you should be, because I found that out firsthand. So, yeah.
I'll speak to that when we get to the third segment of the show.
Okay. So
we'll talk about the Saints.
Yeah. All right. So we wrap that one up, passing a little bit of banter around a little bit. As we are going into our second segment here, what we're going to do, and we talked about it pre-show, is just having an open forum pretty much to discuss what's on their mind, what each person has seen going into this far into the season. So what we're going to do, and the way that we discussed it, was I'll have each one of the guys give their comments. They have their open mic for whatever they want to come up with. I'm going to step back and let them go ahead and do their thing, and then we'll come back. I'll come back in on the third segment. So Mitch started off doing the reviews of the games. So I'm going to start this segment off with Dean. What's on your mind, Dean?
Well, we're going to talk about quarterback play, and if those of you that read my post in the forum talking about the performance of Trey Lance the first 4 weeks of the season, week 1 against the Saints, he went 11-21. Week number 2 against the Patriots, he went 11 of 31. That's, those are both below 50% performances. Week 3 against Indianapolis, equally as poorly, 11 of 25. In week 4, even worse, probably the worst of the 3, 11 of 34. And it did generate some discussion in the league about whether it was the system or the player. And, of course, it's a combination of both. But I made the argument this had more to do with the player than the system. And I think there was a lot of banter that I described as noise. But I think the interesting thing, and like I said, I think this was the key signal. Justin immediately responded and said, looks very much like his 2041 stats, as a reference to what Trey Lance did in 2041 playing for the Cardinals. And if you go back and look at last season's stats, those stats are pretty weak. I think there's some argument here that this has a bit more to do with the player than the system. He played in 2 separate offensive systems and did fairly poorly. As an interesting aside, if you look at the stats of Justin Fields at this point, he has a quarterback rating of, I think, 89.4 or something like that. I think he was like 90 point something, maybe 89 point something all of last season. And that again is him playing quarterback in the same 2 systems. And the stats are about fairly equal. On the other hand, if you look at system and quarterback, maybe it's a favorable combination of both. But Mac Jones is looking very good for the Jets and is putting up numbers that are very comparable to what we're seeing with Derek Carr. So that's what I'll open this discussion with.
Well, it's interesting, Dean, that quarterback play is what you were talking about, because that's kind of where my thoughts were this week. And I want to stick to the Mac Jones part because, in the forum, we did have some chat back and forth around quarterback play, system versus the player, etc. And I will say when I joined back into the league, 10, 11 seasons ago, I had a quarterback. I just, oh my gosh, I just went completely blank on his name. He played quarterback at Oklahoma in college and played for the Steelers in the pros for a little bit. But anyway, bottom line was I kept griping and complaining that he stunk because I was throwing interceptions in the end zone,
Trubisky,
etc. No. He didn't play at Oklahoma. He played at North Carolina. But anyway, and then I drafted and got some other quarterbacks, and quite frankly, they didn't do that much better. They got better when I started getting better at creating my PPPs and picking my plays. And so when I look at Mac Jones, for example, to me, this right here is the best example to show, particularly in the league right now, how our ratings are set up. And I'm not going to go gripe and rant about the ratings differentiation. I think most of y'all, if y'all read the forums or, the emails, y'all know my stance on wanting greater differentiation between players. But when you look at this, based on our current ratings, I have Mac Jones as my 35th ranked quarterback in the league. All right, based on his actual, current ratings. Quarterbacks that I have rated above Mac Jones right now: Tyler Huntley, back up in Seattle; Marcus Mariota, free agent; Justin Herbert, back up in Los Angeles; Kenny Pickett, rookie in Indianapolis; Zach Wilson, starter in Seattle. There, but I mean, these are some players here that some folks are going, "Oh my goodness, are they? What's going on?" Mac Jones is rated below all the. In fact, Mac Jones, I have right now barely ahead of backup quarterbacks Matt Corral and Jamie Newman, who are backups for Indianapolis and Minnesota right now.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Not so fast. I think your rating formula is flawed. Look at Mac Jones. You look at his ratings in the most important key skill areas, and his ratings are very good. I think this still is a combination of system and player. If you trade out Mac Jones for Trey Lance is not getting 117 quarterback rating playing for the Jets right now the way Mac Jones is. So I think a lot of it is the player. And look at those skill ratings on Mac Jones. Those are very solid in the key ratings that count.
Yeah. Well, if you look at that, the key ratings for every quarterback are just about the same. And that's part of the point, is that Mac Jones is the 35th ranked overall quarterback. But when you look at overall, if you put him in New York with the right coach, he's going to put up huge numbers. I guarantee you, if you put Trey Lance in New York, Trey Lance is going to put up big numbers. You can put any quarterback in the top 50 right now, and they're going to be like the best quarterback in the league. Because one, Thomas is fantastic at building out his PP.
Yes, he is, but you're missing a point. Some of these quarterbacks play better than the ratings, and some of them underperform against their ratings.
How?
It happens.
Based on what? Is there a hidden rating or something?
Yes, I think there is a hidden rating. I've been saying that for many years now. Trey Lance mostly underperforms, did it for two teams in two different systems. And Mac Jones is perhaps performing a bit better than his numbers. I guarantee you trade Mac Jones to Chicago, or you trade Mac Jones to Kansas City, he would still do very well. You put Trey Lance in Kansas City, you would be disappointed with him and you would not be starting him. You put Trey Lance in Chicago, well, he underperformed in Chicago in that system.
Okay. So then I ask you a question then. Why did you trade for him?
Because I had hoped that he would play up to those ratings, and it turns out that he did not do so. And that's a gamble you take anytime you draft a player or you trade for one. They may play up to those ratings or they may not. And I think it's more noticeable with quarterbacks because with quarterbacks, the stats are more measurable in many ways. I mean, a running back, you can look at how many yards per carry they average. But, running backs will have a tendency to get their 4 or 5 yards per carry on average. But, quarterbacks, the tendency for a quarterback to underperform and let you down is much more noticeable in the stats, and noticeable when you watch the play in the game. You actually watch the game and you see how many times passes are overthrown or underthrown. You see the situations where the receiver turns around and comes back for the pass and the defender breaks it up in the meantime. That's a pass that was underthrown. It was thrown a fraction of a second too late. The timing is a bit off. I'm not talking about time pass. I'm talking about check receiver passes, or the passes are the deep balls are overthrown consistently.
Yeah.
These things make a difference, and that's not system. That's when you see Trey Lance running the same play that Mac Jones runs, and Mac Jones gets a completion, and Trey Lance gets an incomplete, overthrows the pass or underthrows it. And I'm not even talking about the difference in talent with receivers either. They both have very good receivers they're throwing to. It comes down to quarterback play.
I guess this is one of those areas. I guess we're going to just have a difference of opinion. I don't think there's a hidden rating out there. And when I look at these, like I said, you take the top 35 quarterbacks, since I have Mac Jones rated as 35th. And I agree with you. You know what? You took the three key rating areas: strength, intelligence, and discipline, right? Mac Jones is 96 in strength, 91 in intelligence, 83 in discipline. Well, you know what? The top 35 quarterbacks, the average in those areas, 95.5 in strength, 92 in intelligence, 83 in discipline.
But not all of
the top 35 quarterbacks are all studs. And so that's why I think you can move those people around, and it's not going to make that much of a difference.
But I'll throw another piece of information into the mix here. Yeah. I'm not going to name who it is, but one of the coaches I talked to about this issue said I'm not sure when this was posted, but he'd been reading on a message forum discussing issues of ratings and how this game is designed. And someone who said that they were one of the developers of the game did acknowledge that there is a hidden rating.
Maybe it was Q, part of the QAnon. QAnon. Well, anyhow, I think Dean and I are going to. I think we're saying one's from the left, one's from the right here, so we'll call it agree to disagree. But we both agree that good quarterback play is essential to your offense moving the ball. We just have maybe difference of opinion on how much the scheme plays into it versus the player itself. So, Mark, anything you want to add into this as our moderator of today's debate?
Well, I think by looking at the stats, and I have to agree with you, Mitch, on having the separation of the stats, because it's like I look at it as a big log jam, like you mentioned earlier. What was it? You said the top 35 quarterbacks, all the stats are pretty much identical, and basically meaning that if they're all identical, there's really no separation. It basically comes down to the coaches, the staff, and the plays and the profiles. So you can take a guy that is, you mentioned my quarterback, you can pull him out, stick him in New York, he's going to be doing fine. Take him and take that guy and move him to another team, he's going to be doing poorly, but the stats are all the same. So I have to agree with you on it. Maybe spreading those out a little bit more so they're not so bunched up together. I tend to lean a little bit more into your camp as far as the players go, but I also believe that the play calling is in my opinion, the bigger factor, because if there's a log jam at the top, it's just a matter of what plays you're calling in the situations that you're calling that makes one team stand out over another, because you can take a guy lower down outside that top 35 rating, put him in a good system, and he's going to be a stud. So that's my opinion, or my take on that. So
thanks, Stephen A.
All right, guys.
Anyone who thinks that Trey Lance is going to win a Super Bowl for them, then they're welcome to try that.
Telling you, go to Pittsburgh. I mean, Dak Prescott, I got him as my number one overall quarterback. Granted, he's long in the tooth now, 12 years, but he's on the bench. Trevor Lawrence. Looks like he's got the starting job now for 2 weeks in a row. So, maybe go see if you can get Prescott and try to go back on a Super Bowl run here.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to pivot to the last segment. We're going to try and stay within our little window that we keep stretching every week. But we are going to pivot to the last segment, and this is the upcoming games. Again, each one of us has a lead pipe lock. And right now for the season, Mitch is leading everybody with 29 wins to 16 defeats over all the whole season so far of all the games. Dean is sitting in third place at 24 and 21. And somehow I'm sitting in second place at 28 and 17 for the lead pipe locks. Mitch and Dean are both 4-1, and I, like my record, is sitting at 1-4. So, as we're going in, I don't know if the lead pipe lock is a good thing or if it's a curse. You guys be the judge of that, coaches out there, and we're gonna keep plugging away and see how this week goes. So, starting off with the first game going into week 6. We have the New York Jets taking on Indy, and the Rich Sporting Books, is giving the Jets a 14.5 point spread. So we are going to start this one off with Dean.
Yeah, I think this game is clearly going to be won by the Jets. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Okay, Mitch.
Well, I'm hoping Indianapolis wins this game because then it makes my loss more digestible. But I agree with Dean. I think the Jets are going to win the game.
All right, I'll keep it simple. We're all in agreement on that one. It's going to be the Jets. Next game, we have New England going to play Minnesota. They are giving Minnesota 6.5. We're going to start with you, Mitch.
Well, I lost I lost my undefeated mark in lead pipe locks last week by picking Minnesota over Pittsburgh. I've been riding the Barney bandwagon for a few seasons now. I think it's time I've got to jump off. I've got to jump off. I'm going New England this week, and it's my lead pipe lock.
Okay. Dean.
Someone's going 4-2 on those lead pipe locks, and you know that I have not been necessarily on the Minnesota bandwagon. But the Vikings are going to come back this week, and they're going to see playing the Patriots as an opportunity to get back in the win column, and they're going to win and cover the spread. They're going to win. The Vikings are going to win this game by at least a touchdown.
Okay.
Lead pipe locks is going to be a curse on the Patriots.
I am going to ride this one with New England. I'm putting my faith in Coach Mox this week. So go ahead and go, Coach Mox. So next game, we have Jacksonville going in to play Detroit. They are giving Detroit 4.5. Dean.
Well, if you're wanting to make some money, this is a game you want to bet on. This is a game you want to put everything on. And yes, this is a lead pipe lock. No, it's not a lead pipe lock. It's a safe bet. You want to bet on Detroit winning this game. Detroit will definitely win.
All right, Mitch.
So is this your lead pipe or no?
It isn't. I thought about it.
It's not. Okay.
But,
Okay.
Okay,
it's
so this is not your lead pipe, huh?
It's not the lead pipe. It's just a lock, not the lead pipe.
It's just a lock. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get some. I'm gonna have to get some sounds in there for a pipe being locked and all that good stuff.
That's right.
I gotta work on the staff on that. Hey, Commish, I need some more money for the budget to get some sounds in here. Mitch, what do you got?
Oh man, I tell you, I don't know if I trust either team. Can I just say draw here? I'm gonna go Detroit. Why not? Detroit.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ride that Detroit train also, Midwest to Midwest. So, going with Detroit as well. Next game, we have Pitt going in to play Las Vegas, riding off of that recent win. Sporting Books is giving it to Vegas, though, by 3.5. We are going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, being that Coach Lee made a point to reach out and make sure that I realized that my lead pipe lock prediction did not come out to fruition. I said I said that I would not be betting against the black and gold this time. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh and say that Pittsburgh is going to win this game. In particular, because we all know he's going to have his timeouts figured out in this PPP now. So I think he's going to win this game.
All right, you're going with Pitt on this one. Dean, what do you have, sir?
Oh, I'm going to have to disagree and say not so fast. The Raiders are going to get back in the win column this week, and the Raiders are going to win this game. You know, Pittsburgh is perhaps the best 1-4 team in the league, but don't count on the Raiders to get their offensive struggles going in the right direction, and we're going to see a better Raiders offense this week, and Las Vegas wins.
All right, I am going to go in a different direction. You know, I grew up living in Texas, and that's when you had the Cowboys and you had the Oilers, but I grew up a Steelers fan. So imagine living in Southeast Texas as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I think what's going to happen this week is Pittsburgh is going to conjure up all those legends from the past: Bradshaw, Swan, Harris, Blyer, Blunt, Ham, Lambert, Green, and they are going to go in there and they're going to do the immaculate reception all over again, all over Vegas, even though they're still the Raiders. And I am picking Pittsburgh, and not only that, I'm giving Pittsburgh the lead pipe lock this week. That was a long way to get out there. Go Pitt.
Yeah. If nothing else, it's going to be a fun game visually to watch, because there is nothing better than that silver and black and that black and gold on the field.
Here, I agree with that one, most definitely. All right, go Pitt. Next game, we have Chicago going up against L.A. They are giving Chicago 10.5. What the heck? You guys gave them 20 last week. Now you're cutting them down to 10? Really?
Well, they are the former champs there, or the current champs there.
Yeah, they're in AA right now. That's all right. We're going to start with Dean on this one. Go, Dean.
Yeah, that AA meeting is continuing, and this is the one you want to bet on. You want to, take out your second mortgage and go cash in some payday loans or whatever means you have to come up with money and put your bet on this one. The Cardinals are going to win this and cover the spread. I see the Cardinals winning by at least 2 touchdowns in this game. That spread, I think, is reasonable. It's not a 20.5 spread like last week. Definitely Chicago wins this game. Lead pipe lock. Take it to the bank.
Mitch.
Well, similar as earlier in the season, LA played Washington. I think Washington was kind of a little upset, thinking they probably should have been the ones playing LA in the Super Bowl, and they took it out on LA pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago kind of feels the same way and thinks that they should have been the ones playing LA in that Super Bowl. So I agree with Dean. I think Chicago's going to win, and I think they're going to win, comfortably.
All right, I agree with you guys. I'm riding with Chicago on this one as well. So,
and don't forget, if he's starting Justin Fields in the game this weekend, Justin Fields is going to want to prove that he can beat the Chargers.
Yep, this is true.
Very true.
Very true. Next game, we have New Orleans going into Kansas City. They are giving Kansas City 9.5. We're going to start this one again with Dean.
Yeah, I think you're going to see balanced offense. You're going to see very solid production. You're going to see some strong defense. And yes, I'm calling the upset here. The Saints are going to win this game in Kansas City.
Woohoo. All right, Coach Mitch, what do you got?
I mean, how can you disagree with Dean? I mean, you look at New Orleans, playoff team last year. off to a solid start this year. Probably should be 4-1. Just beat the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, gosh, I mean, I have Indy last week. Now I get New Orleans. I mean, this is like a gauntlet. So I can't pick against my team because, that I feel like Pete Rose, but I mean, golly, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I guess I'll pick Kansas City since I have to pick somebody.
All right, I'll keep it real simple. Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to take this one as well. Next game, San Francisco going up against Washington. They are giving Washington 8.5. Mitch.
Well, I don't think Washington is Anaheim here, so I am going to pick Washington to win, and I think they'll cover that spread, dude.
All right, Dean.
The 49ers have a history of winning close games and losing close games, and I think the Redskins at times have a tendency to win games, not necessarily cover the spread like happened last week. Washington is going to win this game, but they're not going to cover that spread.
All right, I'm going with Washington as well, and I agree with you. I do not believe they're going to cover the spread on this one. Last two games we have Anaheim going up against Atlanta. They are giving Atlanta 7.5. Mitch.
Well, based on how the teams have played this year, Atlanta should win this game. However, you never know, that Joshua Dobbs' hidden rating might, flare up, and he might play lights out against his old coach. But I'm going to take Atlanta.
Okay. Coach, what you got over there, Coach Chambers?
Yeah, I'm going to bet on the should and say this is probably going to be an Atlanta win if the offense can manage to play sufficiently well enough. And I guess we're going to see what kind of hitting rating Lamar Jackson has or doesn't have. So that's what I'm picking. I'm saying the home team is probably going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you don't see Dak Prescott under center in Atlanta, but that's just rumor.
All right. Last game, we have Seattle going in to play the Giants. They are giving the Giants 7.5. We are going to finish this one off. First one on deck is Dean.
Yeah, I think coming off of the game last week, I think Seattle is going to be more effective on offense this week and play defense as well as they did against the Cardinals last week. And I see an upset here. I see a Seattle win on the road.
Okay, Mitch.
Well, if Seattle wins, is that like a winning streak, a moral victory plus a real victory? I don't. But anyway.
Really?
All kidding aside. I honestly, I don't know. New York has shown signs of brilliance. They've shown signs of not so brilliance. Where is this one being played? Is this one in New York or Seattle?
This is in New York.
Ooh, in New York, outside. Oh,
Do not know if it's going to rain. No idea.
I'm just going to go with the easy bet. I'm going to say the Giants, but I really have no idea. But I'll go with the Giants.
All right, I'm thinking that we are going to continue doing some tweaking with our plays and profiles and see what we can do to try to take another victory or get another victory under our belt. Of course, I'm riding with the Hawks. Go Hawks. There you go. So, there you go. So, gentlemen, we have reached the 1 hour point, so we need to go ahead and get up out of here. So, as we come to wrap this up, any final words that you have over there, Dean?
No, we just have some interesting games this weekend, and good luck to everyone.
All right, Coach, what you got over there for us, Mitch? Take us home.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another fun week, so let's get it.